Hey there folks, I thought I'd share a little discovery of mine with everybody. I was recently out at our local range doing a bit of shooting and discovered the cartridge case which you see before you lying on the ground underneath the shooting bench. And from a distance I initially thought, oh great, somebody left some 4570 empties in the ground. That's a great find. But of course you can tell it's not a 4570 when you look at it closely because it's rimless. This is in fact what a 4570 looks like. It's got a big fat rim, although you can see from a distance they look, you know, vaguely similar when you're looking at them underneath a bench. Anyway, I did some digging around and managed to get my grubby hands on this brass which was in the mud underneath the bench, and I was quite surprised to see what the head stamp was. Is it some sort of newfangled rimless big bore cartridge? No, it is in fact a 308 Winchester. Now, if you're even vaguely knowledgeable about guns, you'll know that a 308 Winchester is a bottlenecked cartridge. Here's what a 308 Winchester should look like, with a shoulder and a 30 caliber neck, which are absent from this cartridge. Anyway, after doing some comparison, I have determined that in fact what happened was somebody was firing 308 Winchester cartridges in a 30-06 rifle. You can see the remains here of the shoulder. If you look at very closely, it lines up exactly with where the shoulder starts on the 30-06. Now, you could be forgiven, I guess, after a fashion, if you did this once because you got a round of ammunition mixed up and perhaps you fired it and discovered when you opened the breech and took the empty out it looked like this. You could be forgiven for saying, oh crap, I used the wrong ammunition. But oh no, the genius who did this, they didn't do it once, they didn't do it twice. They in fact fired at least 8 shots. They fired at least 8 rounds of 308 Winchester ammunition in a 30-06 rifle. Because at least that's how many I found on the ground. Who knows if they fired any more than that. Anyway, the interesting thing about this is not so much the fact that the rounds seem to survive this rather radical fire forming in as good a shape as they did. The interesting thing is that here in Canada, in order to get a firearms license, you have to pass a firearms safety test. And one of the things which they drum into people's heads, or at least to some degree, is to check that you're using the correct caliber of ammunition in your firearm. And that's, of course, good advice. But apparently there's somebody out there who took the course, passed the test, got a license, and doesn't have enough of a clue to look at the cartridge that they are going to shoot in their rifle. Anyway, it brings up an interesting quote which is attributed to Albert Einstein. Apparently Einstein is reputed to have said that there is a difference between genius and stupidity, and that is that genius has its limitations. Anyway, the primers on some of these, if we hold them up, perhaps you can see, it's hard to see with that background, the primers are actually, and I measured this with the calipers, the primers on these are actually extruded back out of the cartridge case by 20 thousandths of an inch. So that's a fair bit. The only thing which probably enabled these cartridges to fire at all would be that the rifle's extractor grabbed a hold of the rim and held it firmly enough to let the firing pin take a poke at it, because of course there would be absolutely horrible headspace with that combination of short 308 cartridge in a long 30-06 chamber. Anyway, boys and girls, be sure to check your ammunition before you go to the range, and if you get to the range with the wrong ammunition, don't try to fire it in your rifle. Go home and get the proper ammunition. Anyway, see you later.